You know what's even scarier than ghosts in a hotel? The damage they leave behind. Dr. Sleep takes us decades after The Shining, and instead of a haunted child, we now meet a haunted man. But can Stephen King truly pull off a sequel to one of his most iconic novels? That's the question I was wondering. And my friends, he absolutely can. Hey there, fantasy and horror fans. Jim here with Fantasy for the Ages, the show where my son Zach and I talk about fantasy, science fiction, horror, and other nerdy things across speculative fiction and beyond. These are all things that bring us joy, and we enjoy bringing the joy to you. And sometimes, chilling nightmares, which is what I, in this solo episode, am bringing today as we talk about Dr. Sleep. Before we dive in, take a second to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't done so yet, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a new episode. They keep coming almost every day. And of course, a huge shout out to our Patreon supporters. Thank you for helping us continue to be able to pay for all this stuff we do on the channel. If you'd like to join them and access some of the special perks, like getting our episodes as soon as they are ready for prime time, well, look for the link in the show notes, and you too can become part of the Fantasy for the Ages family. All right, let's set the stage on Dr. Sleep. This book by Stephen King is a horror supernatural thriller published back in 2013. It's the long-awaited sequel to The Shining, one of Stephen King's earliest classics, published in 1977, a book that cemented him as one of the masters of modern horror. And yes, this book, Dr. Sleep, did get the big screen treatment in 2019. You may have heard of it. It starred Ewan McGregor as adult Danny Torrance, and Rebecca Ferguson as the unforgettable Rose the Hat. The film was directed by Mike Flanagan, a name that's getting some traction in the movie world. He also gave us The Haunting of Hill House and Midnight Mass. So the horror vibes were strong. If you'd like to check it out, Dr. Sleep is currently streaming in the United States on HBO Max, at least as of this recording. And I just got an email yesterday. It's soon to be streaming also on Netflix. That's supposed to hit the first week in November. As for reception, this book did very well. It landed on the New York Times bestseller list, earned a 2013 Bram Stoker Award nomination, and while some critics were skeptical about returning to such an iconic story, readers largely embraced it. Many even call it one of King's best later career works. So why did I read it? Well, I've been working my way slowly through all of Stephen King's novels that I had not yet read. And I'm going in publication order because I'm just kind of anal like that. I'm a huge fan of King's early horror works, Salem's Lot, The Stand, Pet Sematary. I mean, these were my jam for sure. But I'll admit, as I committed myself to get through all the books I hadn't read yet, and he's written a lot of stuff, there were some mid-career things that bogged me down and slowed my pace. Duma Key, man? That really cooled my momentum for a bit. Dr. Sleep is my return to reading King again. It was the next in line that I hadn't read after Duma Key. And I loved The Shining, man. So the idea of a sequel was just the thing to pull me back into my Stephen King reading. Plus, I really wanted to watch that movie, and I always prefer to read the source material first. So it was finally time. Wow. I'm glad I dove in. Here's my Spoiler-Lite Synopsis, so if you haven't read this yet, you're safe. Decades after the events at the Overlook Hotel, Danny Torrance, now going by Dan, is an adult still wrestling with the trauma of his childhood. I hope you've read The Shining. The stuff he goes through is horrific. He's haunted, not only by literal ghosts, it's a thing, but by addiction, guilt, and a lifetime of running from what he is, a man with the shine. But when Dan meets a young girl named Abra, who possesses an even stronger shine than his own, he's drawn into a terrifying conflict with a nomadic group known as the True Knot. Seemingly ordinary travelers, vagabonds, who feed, quite literally, on the psychic essence of children who shine. What follows is a tense, emotional, and ultimately redemptive story that blends horror, humanity, and the supernatural into something deeply satisfying in the best way that King can pull off. Here's 9 reasons, yes, 9, that I think you might enjoy reading this book. Number 1, barely a sequel? Poppycock! I saw some reviews saying that Doctor Sleep was barely a sequel to The Shining. That is complete nonsense. Doctor Sleep doesn't just tie back to the original, it enhances it. King takes the trauma of the first story and carries it forward beautifully. Honestly, it made me, reading Doctor Sleep, made me appreciate The Shining even more. Number 2, Dan Torrance is an incredible character study. We've seen child protagonists grow up before, but rarely this authentically. Dan's life is a very believable mix of pain, survival, and gradual redemption. King absolutely nails how the scars of childhood abuse and fear might play out decades later. Number 3, the portrayal of trauma, guilt, and addiction. Masterful. King has been open publicly about his own struggles with alcoholism, and that experience bleeds into this novel in powerful ways. This is one of the most emotionally raw depictions of addiction that I've ever read, but it's also hopeful. Number 4, the expansion of what The Shining really is. We all wondered what The Shining actually was back in 1977. Here, King broadens the lore significantly, but not by over explaining it. He simply deepens our sense of wonder and mystery about it all. We get a clearer sense of what it means to shine and how others in the world carry that gift or curse. Number 5, the True Knot. These are fantastic new villains. Rose the Hat and her crew are brilliant antagonists, eerie, charismatic, and downright horrifying. They feel human enough to be unsettling, but otherworldly enough to fit perfectly into King's supernatural universe. My 6th reason is the creative, seamless connections to the original, The Shining. There are callbacks, yes, but they never feel forced. King does not rely on nostalgia here, he builds on it. The echoes of the past matter here, and when those connections appear, they hit hard. Number 7, King's writing is sharp and confident. There's a reason people believe this is Stephen King at his best later career form. The prose flows, the dialogue feels alive, and the balance of horror and humanity is spot on. Number 8, the pacing is just right. There are King books where he kind of gets lost for a while. That is not the case here. This book has depth, but it does not drag. The tension builds naturally. The character work engaging. And when the action hits, it hits. And speaking of, my 9th reason is the climax of this story. No spoilers, but it's so good. The emotional payoff, the setting, the confrontation, it all lands perfectly. I closed the book grinning, satisfied, maybe a little haunted, but mostly just, yeah. So, should you read Dr. Sleep? Absolutely. Whether you loved The Shining or just looking for a powerful modern horror novel that balances scares with heart, this one's worth your time. Honestly, you don't have to have read The Shining in order to read Dr. Sleep. I do think it'll make it better, but Dr. Sleep has enough in it to stand on its own. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Which version of The Shining do you prefer? The book, the Kubrick film, or the King approved miniseries that came many years later? Did you read this book, Dr. Sleep, already? What are your thoughts? Did you see the movie adaptation yet? Don't spoil it for me, but I'd love to hear your reactions. Anything you want to share, put them down in the comments. I still do try to respond to everything I see. And remember, you can keep this conversation going about this book and other things from science fiction, fantasy, horror, and nerdom by joining our Discord. We've got about a couple hundred people on there regularly posting their comments on what they've read, what they've watched, what their cats are doing, and we're just having a good time. An invitation is down in our show notes, along with links to our socials and even our email. Thanks for watching, and as always, we'll talk to you next time.